Well, hello there. This is Louis, aka Louis the French Manette, and you're listening to the Frenchie Talks About. On this episode, we are talking about emotional eating, and to talk about that with me is the specialist herself, Mrs. Renee Jones, author of What's Really Eating You: How to Overcome the Triggers of Comfort Eating, and you can actually see her on one of her TED Talks is Lose Weight and Keep It Off: Emotional Eating. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I actually was emotionally eating today, a couple minutes ago, actually.
Yes.
um, Thank you very much for accepting to be on my show. Because when I saw in the potential guest list that I receive every month by my email, when I saw that emotional eating subject, it really triggered something in me because I've been doing it since I'm very young,
Mm,
and I've been trying. I'm aware of it, but I've been trying to understand it.
mm,
So I'm very happy to have you on this show today.
Thank you very much.
All right. So now, before we really go into the deeper subjects, I want to know a bit about your journey. Why did you specialize in that subject?
Because I was an emotional eater. I actually spent 40 years on the diet yo yo.
Mm,
My first diet was when I was 10 years old because my mother thought if we get it sorted out now,
mm,
then she'll be set, right?
mm.
Which would have been lovely if she were good at it to begin with, but she was not.
The best intentions, right?
Best intentions, but we came from a large family, like
Mm,
large, not as in number, but size. And they all, would do the diet thing and then go back to eating the way they did before. So we didn't really know how to go from the diet phase to maintenance and long
mm,
term.
mm,
So I over those 40 years, I tried every diet there was. I was up and down. I was frustrated. I was humiliated. I was
mm,
fat shamed, all of that kind of stuff. And, for all of those years, my New Year's resolution was lose
mm,
weight.
mm,
So in 2012, I was staring down my 50th birthday. And I thought, right, if I don't get it right now, I'll never lose weight because women can't lose weight after 50, right?
Well, so some are luckier than most, but yeah.
Yeah. So my New Year's resolution was to lose weight, and I started out, and on week 2, I had to start again. 1st of February, I had to start again, and this went on until April when I actually had to buy a bigger size, and I was mortified.
Mm,
And I thought, okay, there's got to be a way around this.
mm,
And I was just looking online. It was just like, how do I fix this? And I ran across this lady who had a video up, and I thought, oh, that's fascinating. I wonder how that works.
mm,
So I actually bought into her program and eventually hired her to be my coach because I thought if she could do it, then I could do it. And if
mm,
I had help, then I'd be much more likely to be able to do that. So we worked together for quite a while because emotional eating can be a deep seated thing.
mm.
So I hired her, we worked together, I lost my weight, got there the week before my 50th birthday, and I have not gained it back.
Well, congratulations to you. It's a hard thing to do, something I've been trying to do but cannot. But you found a way to do it, and you had the resources to do it. So,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm really happy to have you on the show because that kind of message should be listened and understood throughout. Because a lot of people associate, like you tried and your parents tried. Hey, it's food, right? So we'll just change the food,
Mm,
and we should be good.
mm,
For some people, yeah, it's a question of what you put in, but there's a lot of psychology in our triggers. There's a lot of
yeah.
stuff that we don't want to think about, and it's
Yeah.
so much easier just working or eating or smoking or than actually face the truth. And it's important for people to more and more to understand that because it's going to really change your life. That's something I understood. Still don't know how to do though.
Well, one of the things that I say when I have a nicer way of saying this, but my main idea is face your stuff, don't stuff your face.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it's so easy. Maybe you can explain this to me. I'll give you an example. a
Okay.
couple years back, I'd say around 5 years ago, I used to be a security agent, okay? So a
Okay.
lot of night shift too, like from midnight to noon. So, and there was a couple restaurants open 24 hours where I was. And it was easy for me to order. But there's times I'm like, no, I am not ordering. And I was going through really bad emotional problems with my ex-girlfriend at the time. So I'm like, no, I'm not eating. I brought her lunch. I'm eating my lunch. I will eat my lunch. Like the whole day, I will eat my lunch. Then somehow I forget I have lunch, and next thing you know, I have a pizza on my hand.
Yeah.
Why do I black out like that?
Because that's the easiest thing. So
Hmm.
the unconscious mind is just there for survival as much as anything.
Hmm.
It's like the backseat driver telling you to go ahead, run the light, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. And eventually you want to say, just shut up, or you go do it because that'll shut it up. But it is hardwired to resist the unfamiliar and go back to what it's always known. So even though your lunch was probably the perfect thing for you,
Hmm.
that hard wiring is, yeah, this is different. I want that. And you go to the
Yeah.
pizza because it's comforting. It's comfortable and it's comforting to you.
Yeah, and especially pizza.
Yeah.
I'm my current girlfriend and the mother of my child stated has never seen someone eat that much pizza in their life. I'm a
Mm.
walking pizza on two legs, and that's the thing with what my emotional eating journey has been is. I know some people binge eat, and you can anything. It can be homemade. They even prefer like give them a whole thing of steak or a big pork,
Yeah.
a piece of meat.
Yeah.
Me, I can't binge eating because it does not fulfill me. I'm always towards fast food, junk food, because somehow it comforts me, but I feel disgusting every time. And I say to
Mm.
myself, why am I doing this? I had time to analyze, and I've been facing certain things, but it doesn't seem to go away fully. I have my moments, I'm good, and then I go back a couple months binge eating until it stops again. For people who've been going through that up and down, what's the best thing you can suggest to them to stabilize a bit more?
Louis, I just think that we can't see our own stuff like someone else can.
Hmm.
So that would be a point where I'd say hire a coach because in one session, probably we could get to that and figure out what's going on and unwind it.
Now I'm
Because
not. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it's just the external thing. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, I would ask different questions than you would ask of yourself. And you would have your all of your defense mechanisms covering
Hmm.
up the main thing because in reality you probably don't really want to give up the pizza. It's just
Yeah.
something you think you have to do in order to get to the goal you want, but you don't really want to.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's the thing you really need to let go, but to let go means to evolve, and to evolve
Yeah.
and grow is such a scary thing. Some people just never do it in their whole life.
Yeah.
Uh,
Again, the unconscious mind does
mhm.
not want to go with the unfamiliar. It will do everything it can to keep you with what you've always done, what's always worked, all of that. And until we kind of find a way to put that over on one side and go with what we know, then
Now,
you will always be in that loop.
going back to what you said before, the thing you suggested, hiring a coach or getting a coach. You see, I'm not familiar with that concept. Is there such things as just a life coach, or there's specialities in emotional baggage coaches? How would you help me demystify a bit how to hire a coach?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm an emotional eating coach,
Okay.
and I'm also have a degree in marriage and family counseling. So there are people who are trained in different ways, and typically, therapy, right?
Yeah.
You're okay. So a therapist will do a lot of work in what's happened up till now,
Hmm.
and a coach typically says, "Okay, this is where we are. Where are we going forward?"
Hmm.
And And some of them do look at the past, but they don't spend a lot of time on it, right? So they're just two different methods of getting you to the same goal. It's
Hmm.
figuring out what's going on for you. How is that not helping you right now? And how do we adjust things so that you do get what you need So it does help you reach your goals. So
So,
yeah, I
so,
mean,
ba-
there are
so
coaches, life coaches, diet coaches,
mm.
business coaches, all kinds of people out there doing just about every topic imaginable.
So basically, therapist like plugs in the holes of the past route, and a coach will help you build the road in front of you. If I
Yeah,
understand correctly. Okay.
yeah. And then there are people like me who do a little bit of both because, that's how I was trained.
And going on your own experience, we're talking about the hardships, right? Is there examples or situations you've been in that you made that determination? I am, changing the way I see this, and I hired a coach, and then you struggled, right? Can you talk about
Sure.
those struggles?
Yes. Okay. So one of the attachments that I had was to peanut butter,
Mm,
right? That's in the southern part of this chunk of America. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich is the thing you give a kid. It's just easy. Every kid likes peanut butter and jelly, right? Unless they're allergic to it. But I had a grandmother who loved peanut butter as much as I did, and my mother liked peanut butter. So I found it very difficult to let go of it because by this time they had both passed away. And
okay.
the peanut butter actually became a tangible connection to the love and encouragement, particularly that my grandmother gave me. So every
Mm,
time I had peanut butter, I had that warm feeling inside. And the problem was that she wasn't in that jar.
mm.
So my coach helped me unwind that and find other ways to get that need met and then to let go of the peanut butter.
And when you went for the peanut butter, is it because you got triggered because you were missing your mom beforehand, or there's something that reminded you of your grandma, and then automatically your brain would go into that, or that was like always thing that it can always be triggered at any point?
Yeah, I mean, it had become a general soother. If
Okay.
I was frustrated, if I was upset, which would be the times that I might call my nan or my mother,
Mm.
and peanut butter kind of gave me a soothing, and it became kind of a signal for me. If I found myself circling the refrigerator, it's like, okay, if you're having this much peanut butter, there's something going on that you need to look at.
Yeah, if you're about to inject your own the peanut butter in your veins,
Yeah.
or at least you're able to step out for a second, and that could be a good trigger too. Like understanding the things you do while you're struggling to
Hmm.
decide if you're going to or not. Because I'm the same. I'll walk around. I'll like sometimes I don't know why I do this. I realize I did it like after I did it. But
Hmm.
I would take my cell phone, look at it, but the cell phone's closed. I'm just looking at a blank screen, trying to like shut up my own brain saying I can't eat this stuff. But at work it looks weird because it looks like and people's bosses just looking at blank blank phone for 5 minutes for no reason, So when you're
Well, and
able,
that
yeah.
urge for that thing, whatever it is your signal. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, I have this. There's something going on for me that I need to look at. I'm
Hmm.
staring at this blank screen. Okay, there's something that is making me feel stressed, angry, frustrated, whatever your particular emotion is,
Hmm.
and that's where you go. Okay, I need to step back for a second and let my mind settle
Does
because that craziness, that stuff going, that noise going in your head,
hmm.
will push you toward the screen or peanut butter or whatever your trigger food is.
And when you're in that state, generally, does one person have like one major sign that they're about to emotionally eat, or it happens often that there's like a lot of little ones and it's hard to pinpoint?
Well, the main thing is that it has become a habit.
Hmm.
This is what I do when I'm upset. It may be one food or it may be just food. Because, okay, you have a baby,
Yeah,
right? The first, when the baby cries, what do you do?
they think about like it's hungry. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So from birth, when we cry, they put the bottle, the breast, or a pacifier in our mouths because we are easily soothed orally.
Hmm.
So the problem is that we went from soothing ourselves that maybe you went to a thumb, maybe you went to your nails, maybe you went to a cigarette or a beverage of some sort, but that, or a donut or your pizza. We soothe ourselves that way, and sometimes anything will do.
Mm.
Just put something in my mouth, please, because that makes me feel better.
Okay, so you basically we're born like that. Just events happen to trigger and be like as a defense mechanism. But if you think about it, you said something interesting. It's like babies, we associate food, they're hungry. But one thing and something I've been struggling in my own head, especially since I knew you were going to be on the show and it made me think about emotional eating. I sometimes wonder or ask myself, is it good to always give food thinking my baby's hungry? Will it maybe contribute to bad habits subconsciously in the future if I keep resorting to food to calm her down?
Well, it kind of depends on the baby. I mean, the idea is we've got to keep that baby alive, right? And
Yeah.
if they're hungry, they need to be fed.
Okay.
But as she gets older and you introduce sugar,
Oh, oh yeah. Okay.
that's where you have to be really careful. And understand that a lot of baby formulas have some sugar in it to keep them to make them eat. And I'm thinking, why would we do that to a baby? They're too young for that. Because sugar is instantly addictive. You get that, you want more.
Mm,
So as she grows, you'll want to think about how you soothe her and let it not just be the pacifier or,
mhm.
a bottle. There are other ways to soothe her. They just take a little more time. And that's where parents, bless their hearts, get into trouble because it's like, I just need them to stop crying now. Right?
Yeah, and
But
it's sometimes it's hard to get out of that trap you set for yourself because it's set, right? The baby doesn't
yes,
understand. You said that programming, and to erase that programming is even harder and longer than the harder solution at first, right?
yes, yes. It's just a habit.
Hmm.
If we think about it in terms of a habit, we can break habits. It just takes a little more time.
Yeah, it does, and that's why like well, we are trying, I should say, to be more conscious about it. We're taking the time to when she cries, not always give the food, but
Mm-hmm.
going to step A, I do my what I call the bouncy song, and then
Mm-hmm.
I do the grumpy pants song and walk her around and see if that works. I'm trying to connect with her emotionally, to soothe her, and
Yeah.
like I try to replace myself. Like instead of milk, it's me.
Yeah.
It's is it gonna work? I don't know. We're a month and 2 weeks in, so
But that's a very good strategy because you're teaching her that it's not just about food.
yeah. Yeah, and it's important for us because my girlfriend is a big girl. I'm fluctuating between my health weight should be around 200,
Mm-hmm.
but when I'm really at my low point, I can easily go up to 300. I was really close at one point at the end of my old relationship, and that's one thing I also wanted to talk about is when you're in a situation you don't think you can get out of, right? You're emotionally eating,
Mm.
but you have this impossible choice. For me, was an 8 year relationship. 8 years is
Mm.
not nothing to scoff at. We really tried,
Mm.
but I was eating like there's no tomorrow.
Mm.
I was emotionally doing other stupid things to get out of my pain, my discomfort of being in a bad relationship. But it's so hard to find a solution when you're not happy in
Mm.
general, right?
Mm. Yeah. Well, and part of what you were doing, possibly, right? Everybody's different. So I would have asked you, what feelings are you stuffing down and following it with a food chaser?
Okay, and my answer on that point would have been I know what I have to do, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to do it. Meaning, I know that I need to get out of the relationship, but since I was broken when she found me, and I was still broken when I was at that point, right? So I kind of like was staying with her to make sure I was surviving because I did not know how to pay rent by myself. I did not understand how life worked because I was so broken in the first place. So I
Mm,
was doing it because I needed her. I was relying her to just keep an apartment for fuck's sake. I'm sorry for language, but yeah, that would have been my answer.
yeah. And we all have times when we're incredibly broken,
Mm,
and a good coach or counselor could help you walk through that and figure those things out, you see.
yeah.
But I actually had a client who had a similar situation, and you know one day she was sharing some real tender stuff, and we talked about the food and that moment of simply letting the feelings be there, not
Mm,
trying to stuff it down, but simply letting it be. I talk about it like there's a river of emotion, and sometimes you swim in it, and sometimes you just watch it go by. But as long as it continues to move, it's okay. It's when you become the reservoir for all of that that it
mm.
becomes a real problem. And sounds like you had become the reservoir for all of that emotion and frustration and brokenness.
Yeah,
And
I really was.
yeah, and you needed somebody to throw you a landline.
Yeah, and it came in the form of my ex-girlfriend leaving me for someone else. And it's crazy that I never understood. I literally in say week and a half time span went from 270
Mm.
to 200 200 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, I was even my ex too lost around like 50 pounds, close to 50 pounds in less than like her in a month. We were
Wow.
that emotionally stuffed,
Wow.
and it's sad because I we should have let go a long time ago, and I'm a hard headed person. That was my first real long term relationship, so I thought
Mm.
that's what I needed to do, right?
Yeah. You were
But
invested.
yeah, I was more than invested, and but it's a good person, just not made for me, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then I realized there's sometimes after that, like my real evolution. It's true. I don't know why, but men apparently do mature around more in the 30s, and things like our neurons are like, oh, that's what my dad meant 20 years every day. Now I understand it. But
Yeah.
it started clicking. I'm 33 now, so I'm starting to mature. I'm not fully there yet. I still watch anime, okay, but I'm getting there. But at the same time, I have periods of I've done it. Like it's been a month. We've been home cooking, especially that's how I got my girlfriend. Right. I
Mm.
made supper. I put my emotion into something good that I made for myself, and for her, that wasn't that bad. It was a veggie burger, right? And I really went all out in the toppings, and I was, it made an emotional connection to her. But then I failed, and then I realized I'm never going to be perfect, even though you got a good start.
Uh-huh.
Things will start lingering by itself because there's always a source of negative energy somewhere, right?
Uh-huh.
How do you suggest me to control those little down patches for it not to become too bad?
So I would wonder what the question is you're asking yourself, or the statement you're making to yourself. I mean, it sounds like you were doing your best to prove to her that you're the guy, because there may be a question in your mind somewhere of whether or not you're enough.
Okay, this is interesting. Did not think of that.
Yeah, because if
Um,
you're trying to prove to her that you're enough so that you believe it, that's going to mess with your head all day long.
I think it's part of it because it's not something I thought about. But you see, my guttural reaction was to cringe when you said that.
Of
And for
course.
me, if I cringe, it's because it's true, and my subconscious does not want me to understand it's true. So you're probably
Right.
onto something, huh?
And I might not be. It might be one of the other, main questions that we deal with as people, but that's often when you're trying to do something so well for someone else, it's often a question of whether or not you think you're enough.
But you know what? It makes sense because I've always been doubted. I've always I'm ADD, right? So I
Okay.
have a tendency to start things and just never finish them. So in my head, a lot of people put in my head, and I put myself in the head, I'm not reliable. I'm not. this and that. I have to be better, and that's why I get annoyed when people ask me to do things, because I'm already trying to do as much in my head, my own force that comes from other people. It just I snap sometimes, right?
Yes, but ADD is a superpower, dude.
Oh yeah, I've recently realized that I in a span of a year, when things start clicking, I've been using my ADD to start things. Like I'm brand new to podcasting, like audio podcasting. I've only been for like 3 months now, but there's something that clicked. Right, I was
Yeah.
happy enough to go. I must do this, and
Mm,
same thing for at work. I've always said to myself, I hate being told what to do, so
mhm.
I have to be a boss. And I actually went for it, and I'm a director of a call center now. And
Ah.
I've been it was a sandbox. It's a brand new call center, and I somehow got the job. I'm still surprised about it. And then I'm like in a sandbox creating structures and procedures, and I never would have thought I would be able to do that. But I use my ADD as my force because I'm a creative mind.
Yes. Yes. So in that, you are more than enough, aren't you?
Oh, I'm more enough. I just have to prove myself.
No, you don't. You
No,
just have to be yourself.
it interesting. You see that, because that is my my reflex, my natural reflex is to say I have to prove myself,
Uh-huh.
but I am myself.
Yeah.
Huh.
And that question goes, the thing that I would suggest you continue to look at is how are you continually asking the question, am I enough, to people around you? And it would be fascinating to see how many times a day you do that.
Okay, I think um, it used to be a lot worse before. I think the only person I truly do is now my daughter and my girlfriend.
Mm.
But I used to do a lot like at work and my dad, etc.
Yeah.
And I had a problem too. And back in the day, my dad was always there for me. I can't ask for a better dad. He has his defaults, but at the end of the day, uh, he's always been there for me, but a bit too much. That at one
Mm.
point I kept relying him like, Dad, hey, can I have $20? Hey, Dad, I need this, and knowing my head, like having expectations, like Christmas, I'm probably gonna get a PS4, and this and that. Like, but my dad was like always, without a fault, providing for me. And then I realized like, if something happens, I'm on my own. I'm screwed. And my,
Mm.
my dad, it's in his nature to give, and he understands he shouldn't, but he does it, right? So at one
Yeah.
point, I had to separate myself and say, look, I
Mm.
can rely on myself. I
Mm.
don't need that $20 just because and most of the time it was for food. My
Mm.
dad was belling me out for me to, not unconsciously, because I would always lie about the reason. Like, I need this, not always, but I'd say like at least half of the time was giving an excuse to be able to order something because I had this emotional urge.
Yeah.
So it was related to my dad and food. He was the means how I got the food and was able to stuff it in my face after.
Yeah. Very common thing that happens. Very common.
And now you do talk about emotional eating, but emotional baggage as a whole, it's like some people, yes, emotionally eat, but other people like emotionally smoke,
Mm.
or like everyone has, if I'm not mistaken, everyone kind of has baggage that they handle their own way, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a way that we soothe ourselves.
Hmm.
Just some have different consequences, right? So a smoker, has consequences for that. If you overeat too often, you have consequences for that. An alcoholic, a drug addict, even someone who, is type A and works, 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 works. We
Hmm.
all have consequences. And there are better ways to get that soothing that we need, because we do need soothing now and again.
Hmm.
It's just the means by which we do that is key. And that's, again, it's our habit to use food to comfort ourselves. It's our habit to, overwork or play, video games or whatever it happens to be.
Hmm.
And we just have to break that habit and replace it with something that is healthier for us.
You see, my girlfriend's got to step up because she is, like I said, a big girl, like for almost all her life, because she used to eat a lot, and she even realized it before, like, hell, before I would eat like a whole chicken. Now I'm like two legs, I'm stuffed. Like, how can I eat the whole thing, right? And
Mm.
she started realizing that because she started replacing food because she does not want to go over a certain weight anymore. She actually was lucky enough to lose a lot of weight because of pregnancy, so
Hmm.
she wants to keep that weight off. And
Yeah.
then is like almost every morning now she has a routine. She will make sure the baby's nice and calm. If not, I'm to the rescue. But she
Mm.
goes, she does around a 20-minute guided meditation session, and then I'm not religious for myself, and she's not. She doesn't go to the church every Sunday, but still her therapy. She prays to her God
Mm.
for a good 10 minutes to, now she's calm. She can like put out to the universe what she needs and what she's praying for, right? And it's
Sure.
been
Sure.
really helping her. Is there any other ways like that, you can soothe yourself in your experience that is not toxic, that it could be positive, like meditation?
Sure. I mean, meditation is a great thing. It truly is. Just sitting quietly is
Mm,
helpful. Going for a walk. Some people like to have like a bubble bath or to go get their nails done
mm.
or, um, you know, anything, play with the dog,
Play with a kid. It's just
play with the kid,
yeah,
anything that brings you a good, positive feeling that helps you feel a little better will work. And it's different for everyone. I mean, I've been known to clean because it helps me. Creating order helps me when my world is not in order.
mm. And
You
that
know,
that's my dad.
yeah,
My dad would like frustrate clean when he was
yeah,
mad at me. I knew he was mad at me because he started cleaning the walls for no reason. So I was like, okay.
yeah. And
And
something physical can help too. Even pulling weeds in the garden can be helpful because it gives that energy a place to go.
yeah, and also like it probably in the same concept. Like when I'm trying to stop smoking cigarettes. It's you kind of I when I try to stop smoking, I have to distract myself for that 30 seconds, that surge of I want cigarette, like to
Mm-hmm.
change that little switch, right? To think about something else, and then you kind of forget that you wanted a cigarette, and you're off doing something else.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for food. It's like you have to at least minimally distract your 30 seconds of your brain that's saying you must need this to stuff it out.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I think sometimes you can give yourself a 10-minute timeout.
Okay.
If you still want it in 10 minutes, you can have it.
Mm.
But here's the thing when people have cravings or that need for something specific, um, I tell them, okay, if you're going to give that craving honor,
Mm.
then you need to give the food you're eating the same kind of honor. So lay your table, put it on a plate, sit down, use utensils, make an event of it
Mm.
for that 5 minutes, and enjoy every bite.
Mm.
Because very often what we do is we stand in over the sink or in the pantry and eat it quickly so that no one sees, right?
Mm. We take it for
But
granted.
yeah, yeah. But if you actually slow down and enjoy every bite of it, it will nourish you in a different way because
Mm.
you don't feel so guilty about it.
When it actually tells your subconscious, it says like, "Hey, this is okay. This is your moment. You needed that moment, subconscious. Perfect. Take it, but they be conscious of it, and that's it." Because it happened often. Sometimes I'm like, "Okay, I'll go get cookies." I realize I ate the cookies. Like, when did I eat the cookies? So it became
Exactly.
like such a habit and took it for granted. I didn't even know where I was at, and I just finished it, right?
Yeah.
Instead of if I would have prioritized, like, okay, I have my 5 cookies. Here you go. But that's your moment, subconscious. And then I realized I ate 5 cookies and not unconsciously ate 25, you know?
Yeah. If you consciously eat five, you won't need the other 20
Mm,
because you'll get the whatever it is out of it that you want from that.
mm.
I used to do that with my grandmother's pie. You know, it was like you'd eat the first piece so fast. It was like, well, I don't feel like I actually had it. I want another piece. And that's where we get into trouble.
Yeah, true. And there's nothing better. Like it's fun. It's funny, yeah, because resorting to food, you would think it's all about the taste and everything, but if you really appreciate the food, there's something to be said about just taking a bite and taking in the moment of all the flavors in your mouth,
Mm,
that is so
hmm.
much more satisfying spending that 10 seconds of just analyzing what you're eating and being almost like out of body. It's that good than
Yeah.
just bloop, it's sucked in. You're like, where's the flavor? I need more.
I often say we kind of eat on autopilot.
Mm.
And if we're not going to slow down and enjoy it, you may as well be eating celery because you're going to enjoy it just as much.
Now that just actually makes me think, and that's more my girlfriend's side, and she's been getting better. But what, especially the beginning of a relationship,
Uh-huh.
I'm not the fastest eater because I don't have the best teeth, to be honest. So it kind of like forced me to eat slow.
Uh-huh.
But my girlfriend, like at one point, like I would blink and then the bowl of chicken fried rice was gone, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow, it wasn't that bad. Like, no, you're basically like pouring it on your face,
Yeah.
and she slowed down, but she had to catch herself a couple of times and being like, wait, you're only like at not even a quarter gone, and I'm like more than half. And it
Mm.
was hard for her to get a rhythm that chew, 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 eat. What would, now she's getting better and she's starting to realize it, what would you say to her maybe to always be more present on how fast or how slow she's eating?
Yeah, that is a problem that a lot of people had. And I did because, in school they gave you what, 20 minutes to eat?
Mm, mm,
So
true.
we got accustomed to having to eat really fast.
Mm,
So it helps if you sit down at a table, don't have the TV on, don't be reading anything, just you, the food, and your whoever lives with you. Maybe have a conversation. But between every bite, here's what I do. Fork, spoon, knife, whatever, get a piece, put it in my mouth, put the fork down. And if you put the fork down between every bite, you are more likely to take more time to eat because you physically have to go pick up the fork again, right?
yeah, and the subconscious doesn't have as much time to go into autopilot mode. You actually have to force yourself to. Huh.
And it just takes some practice. But here's the thing, it takes your brain about 20 minutes to register the first bite. So, very often, if you eat in 10, 15 minutes, you may think, gee, I'm still hungry.
Oh, interesting.
And you'll eat more than you need. But if you go ahead, either I mean, if you want to eat fast, that's up to you. But wait 20 minutes before you choose to have more.
Oh, do you
Because,
mean like a second serving?
yes,
Okay.
yes, because in 20 minutes, your brain will begin to register that you're full and all
Mm.
the leptin and ghrelin does its thing. And your body begins to say, oh, yes, I think I'm satisfied. Well, if you've already eaten a second serving, you're going
Yeah.
to be ultra full.
Yeah, next thing you're bloated and your stomach's having red alerts. More food is coming.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Um. All right. Well, I usually try to keep the show under around 50 minutes if possible. There's
Mhm.
one thing I wanted to talk about because it's not every day I talk to someone that did a TED talk. Could you talk about that experience? Like, what pushed you? Were you offered, or something that you were seeking yourself, and how did it go? What was that experience like?
Oh my word, yes. Um, well, in May, the year before I gave the talk, my husband said, you might want to think about doing this. And I said, love, I'm never going to be a speaker. Are you crazy? And lo and behold, he kept encouraging me, and I took a speaker's training, and um, then they said you might want to go see if you can get a TED talk. So I applied every state I had never been because I thought if I haven't been in that state, I'd like to go. Of course,
Hmm,
that's not exactly the way TED works. They want local people generally.
okay.
But this one venue in Delaware didn't mind where you were from.
Okay.
So I applied there. They took me, and then they have you do a lot of preparation. You send them 3 videos ahead of time, and they give you critique along the way. And when I arrived there, of course, I was still working with my speaker coach a bit, and the organizer said, Okay, you are the most improved speaker I have ever seen. What did you
Oh,
do?
because you
So,
understand your emotions, so you're able to deal it and actually work on it and not just escape from it, right?
well, yes, and my speaker coach was good. They worked with me, and I was, scared initially. And by the time I kind of got to that, I was still scared. Don't get me wrong, because I'm an introvert.
Mm,
Standing in front of a lot of people is not my favorite thing to do. But it allowed me to share the message that had made such a difference in my own life. And when you have that kind of transformation in your own life, you can't keep it to yourself.
mm.
So the day before the talk, you have a dress rehearsal, and I freaked out at the lights. They scared me. I could not remember my talk. I had to get my notes to get through, and the organizer said, "That's okay. That's why we do it.
Mm.
Relax. Remember, there are like going to be those lights there. You'll be fine." And so the next morning, I got up early and I got all the lamps in the hotel room and put them together and took the shades off of them and gave my talk to the lamp lights, the light bulbs, just so I would have be accustomed to the light being in my eyes.
Mm.
And they put me right before lunch, which I thought was kind of a dirty trick for everybody there. But when it was done, it was great. We walked out and we were going to go get some lunch, and I said, "Let's go sit over there for a second." And my husband was like, "Well, don't you want to go get lunch?" I said, "As soon as I can trust my legs again, we'll get up and go. But right now, I just want to sit here for a second," because all of the energy had just gone out of me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's it's got to be an experience, right? Realizing like everyone's looking at me, and like hell, I'll be on YouTube, or like this could be registered, right? So
forever.
forever.
Yes.
And Matt, at the same time, like, have you had any feedback yet, like how it helped certain people, like anything that you can talk about, like the aftermath of after you did the TED Talk?
Yeah, well, we're up to 360,000 views now, which is just amazing. I ran out of people to tell at about 300, so I don't know where they're all coming from, but I'm very grateful. Um, but yeah, I mean, there are lots of comments about, wow, I hadn't thought about that.
Mm.
That's going to help me. And then I've actually had a few people contact me and want to work with me through that. So yeah, it's been a very helpful piece of the puzzle for me. And you know what? I didn't know I could do that. And now I do.
And next, you're doing podcasts, and we're having a conversation today. So, hey, life is surprising. You don't know where it will lead you. You just trust yourself, and it will bring the great places. And you're never too young or too old to do it, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, look, thank you very much for taking your time to share your journey, share your experience, and just let that pick your brain a bit so it feels good. That being said, if people that are listening to this are really interested in contacting you because there's things you really want to, work on, and they think you're the perfect person to do it, where can they find you, Renee?
They can find me at packyourownbag.com. And that's the same on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all those things.
All right. And if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. That being said, if you want to directly contact me, I'm most available on Twitter, on the Norton Schmoes on Twitter. So, that being said, again, thank you very much for this interesting conversation. And you all have a good day. Bye bye.